Hello viewers at home and those tuning in on Facebook Live. Thank you once again for choosing BrandPlus TV today. My name is Chef Andy, your regular host, and today we're going to be making something that is worth your lunch, something that some of you may actually have not seen before, and maybe it will actually give you a few pointers on what to do with. So I'm going to be working on a very simple Indian dish today. We're going to be making an Indian style macaroni, and to start us off, I'll begin at the very front, where I've got some cumin powder and some garlic powder. I've also got some garam masala, some garlic and some cherry tomatoes. You will also require about 4 knobs of butter, about 1 cube in size, 1 inch cubes in size, some red onion, about 3 tablespoons of cooking cream, some Parmesan cheese to garnish with. You'll also require some frozen peas, about 1.5 cups of some macaroni pasta, 1 large red pepper and some chopped carrots. You'll also require some olive oil to cook with, some salt to season, and last but not least, some water to cook your pasta in. But before we dive into that beautiful stage of making this beautiful dish, I will actually allow for you to settle in and get ready for the show. Do grab your pens and papers if you're taking notes, and we'll catch you after the very short break. See you in a little while. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Just to start us off, we're going to proceed to boil some water, which we'll be making our pasta in. So I'm just quickly going to turn those pans around. And into your pot of choice, proceed to add about 3 cups of water. And just allow for that to come to the boil. But while we do so, very importantly, to always remember to season your water. And of course, add a little bit of olive oil to your pot. This will allow for your pasta to cook really nicely and avoid it from sticking together. And now next up, we're going to proceed to heat up the other pan, which we'll be working with to actually combine most of the ingredients for our filling. So very simply, begin by grabbing about 4 regular sized garlic cloves and proceed to just chop those very coarsely. So at this stage, I'm going to mention you don't really have to chop it very finely. Remember, the garlic chunks do actually give for a very beautiful bite. And to the hot pan, proceed to add some olive oil. Move your pan around, allowing for your oil to coat the base of your pan. And you can also proceed to chop up your red onion. Of course, making sure to slice that into some beautiful half-size rings. And be sure to chop or slice as thin as you possibly can. Of course, a very sharp knife should aid you in doing so very simply. And proceed to chop the other half just the same. And proceed to discard the root end. Now you're going to start off by flavoring your oil a little bit with some of that beautiful garlic. Proceed to add that first to your pan, proceeding to add your garam masala and your cumin powder. and as well some of that garlic powder. Now using a wooden spoon, proceed to give that a mix. Of course, starting off your frying at very medium temperature. Now just as soon as you're done reactivating your spices, proceed to add your red onions. And proceed to mix that through. Of course, also using a little bit of water from your pot to just thin down that spice and allow for your flavors to combine. Toss a few times and allow your onions to sweat out a little bit. And while that continues, we're going to start off the process by throwing in our peas into the hot water. So very simply proceed to add about half a cup of frozen peas. That should actually take anywhere between 4 to 5 minutes to quickly blanch them. So we're going to proceed to grab a bowl and a sieve. And these particular two beautiful tools really help in really changing or moving things from your pot, especially if you're really trying to separate the liquid from your ingredients. So always keep one of these handy, especially when working with pasta. It does actually come very handy in the cooking process. Alright, so our onions are nicely sweated out. We're going to proceed to add our carrots. And once more, proceed to toss your ingredients together. And just to really break the flavors and just combine them really nice and gently, we're going to add about 30 grams of butter. And all you're going to do now is proceed to toss together, allowing your butter to melt completely, giving a nice beautiful velvetiness to your vegetables. So we're going to quickly give our peas a nice quick check. So I like to use this very simple technique of just taking out a few pieces from your pot, set those on your chopping board, and using the tip of your knife, check for doneness by pressing right over the top. And once they begin to mash very simply and open the pods, proceed to remove that from the heat. Very simple technique to do that very quickly without having to change your bowl of water. Pour your liquid right through the sieve. And proceed to return your liquid to the pot. And you can actually proceed to cook your pasta in the same liquid. So we're just going to allow that to come back to the boil. Proceeding, of course, to add our peas. And tossing once more. Now your water is back to the boil. Now we're going to proceed to add our pasta in. And of course use a spoon to mix through. And you can allow for about 4 to 6 minutes for full cooking of that. Now just to rinse down those ingredients, small amount of water once more, and still proceeding to cook at high heat. Proceed to keep tossing your ingredients in the pan, which should bring you to the last and final stage of adding your cherry tomatoes. So very simply proceed to half those on your chopping board. and proceed to add in the rest of your masala. Continuously tossing your mixture does help for a nice even cooking. It also allows for you to avoid overcooking one side of your dish or overcoloring your carrots. And once more, just using the little bit of water in your pot, proceed to add a bit more into the pan. Taking advantage of your liquid, proceed to move your ingredients around. That should actually help you to really get those flavors from the sides of your pan back to the center. Proceed to keep cooking. And at this stage, once your carrots are nicely beginning to tenderize, proceed to add your cherry tomatoes. Tossing once more. And now level everything with a spoon. And proceed to lower your temperature and leave it at the lowest point possible. While that continues, we're going to proceed to slice up some red pepper. So I'm going to use about half a red bell pepper for this recipe. Now very simply, begin by coring out that white bitter membrane on the inside. Pat very lightly against your board to take out any seeds. And proceed to slice into some very thin julienne strips. Finish off by chopping finely that head of the bell pepper. And you can also proceed to add that to your pan. Remember, we're looking for nice, beautiful crunchiness to the pepper for this particular recipe. So this is the only reason why we're adding it right at the end, to actually be able to retain that beautiful acidity of the peppers and to actually allow for them to actually still maintain that beautiful crunch. So turn your heat a little higher. Drizzle very lightly with a little bit of olive oil. And we're going to also proceed to add in our cream. And cream particularly is not a very big necessity for some of you who may not be able to actually take any dairy products. So you can actually avoid adding cream for this recipe if you have a condition that does not allow you to take any dairy. And you can also avoid using the cheese because it is as equally the same, still also considered a dairy product. Now mix everything together, making sure to get a nice even coating of the cream. And at this stage, proceed to turn off your heat completely, and that should allow for your mixture to really combine flavors and ensure that it doesn't also dry out and allow for the cream to overcook and completely evaporate or split. Now this is ready. We're going to allow that to sit for a few, bringing our attention back to the macaroni. So as usual, just take a piece out, set it over your board, and using the tip of your knife, begin to press. If it mashes very easily, then your work is done. Proceed to turn off the temperature, the heat completely, and proceed to drain your pasta. Making sure to give it some nice quick shakes. And proceed to add that to your pan with your vegetables. Using your spoon, proceed to mix through. Making sure to coat all your pasta with your mixture. So that should actually take you anywhere between 2 to 3 very, very quick minutes. And once that is complete, you can actually proceed to serve that while hot. But we will actually take a very short break, allowing us to just get rid of some of the items on our counter. But when you do come back, I'm going to take you to the last bit of the show, which is the serving suggestions, and of course give you some very small tips of what to actually look forward to when making this particular dish, and also give you a couple of beautiful vegetables that can actually also alternate for what we use for this recipe. But before we get there, do take some time and freshen up while we do the same, and we'll see you after a short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who were with us before the break, we just finished this very simple Indian style macaroni. And now, just to finish that off, nice light touch of seasoning with some salt. And now just proceed to mix everything together. And just proceed to plate in your plate of choice. Of course, always making sure to begin by scooping everything right from the bottom of your pan, and always plating from the center out. That should actually be able to give you a nice, beautiful height to your dish, aiding in some beautiful presentation. So we're going to pour out about 1 adult size portion. And of course, just to finish a pasta, very complimentary to add some Parmesan cheese. And that is my very simple Indian style macaroni. I hope you've all had fun today, and some of you have managed to learn something that you didn't know before the show. I'm also going to mention once again, you are not restricted to using other ingredients apart from the ones we used on the episode today. You can actually incorporate your own ingredients by trying it out at home a couple of times. And when you do so, do send us some feedback. Let us know if the recipes work for you, or if they don't. We're always willing to hear from you viewers at home as well as also online. But also something to mention, you can alternatively use penne pasta for this recipe. Remember, there's so many varieties of pasta out there that you can use. There's osciette. There's so many beautiful types of pastas that you can apply to this same recipe. You can also alternatively use regular tomatoes for cherry tomatoes. And for those of you, as I said, for those of you who are not able or restricted in your diet to actually consume any dairy products, you can alternatively avoid adding any cream or adding any Parmesan cheese, and the dish will definitely work for you. But from the studios, I will thank you once again for tuning in. For those of you who are online, do remember to scroll down to our page, leave your comments or any particular inquiries pertaining the show. We are more than welcome. You are more than welcome to do so. But from the studios and myself, until the next episode, I'm going to wish you a lovely weekend. And until the next episode, see you soon, and God bless.